Thank you for joining this entrepreneurship mini-series discussion by Marketing Management and Money. Go to our profile to learn even more about the 3 pillars of small business success: marketing, management, and money. This is going to be a discussion/training that we now have incorporated into our podcast section. And today we are going to be talking about using accounting software for doing your books. This is an interesting topic. I get asked this question all the time as to, what's the best way to do your bookkeeping? And I'm going to take 2 parts to this discussion. One part is looking at whether or not to use an accounting software. And the second part is, if you are going to use an accounting software, which is the best one to use? So let's go ahead and start with this idea of whether or not to use an accounting software. So there was an interesting study that was done that compared using an Excel spreadsheet to using an accounting software to using a dedicated consultant or employee, and what was the most accurate way, or as the study put it, the least likely to have cash flow concerns. And at the top of that list was actually an Excel spreadsheet. So you are least likely to have cash flow concerns if you are doing your books via an Excel spreadsheet. It was 22% was the factor of how many cash flow concerns, or how likely a business is to have cash flow concerns. 22% of the businesses that are using a spreadsheet, 59% that are using accounting software, and 64% that are using a dedicated employee or consultant. They're actually hiring it out. So why the discrepancy here? And this is important for businesses to understand. It is the separation of you from your books. If you are not actually involved in your own accounting process, then errors are going to arise. And that is something that happens time and time again. I see a lot of businesses that think, especially if they've hired professionals, they think that the professional is going to have the same level of concern for their business that they have for their own business. Not true. The babysitter is not going to take care of your children as well as you are going to take care of your children. And so you really need to be connected to your books. If you're just starting out, I actually do recommend, using an Excel spreadsheet, putting pencil to paper and just having to balance your own balance sheet. Take the time, do the homework, get familiar with it. It really will pay off in the long run because you're going to learn what you need to learn about your own business. And so that is the single most important factor that you can do. And so if you're starting by jumping in with an accounting software, in my book, that's actually a mistake. I would start by doing it by hand, doing it a little bit old school. And then once you know what's going on in your business, use a software to speed up the process. Don't use a software to learn the process. They are not great tools for learning the process. They are great tools for speeding up the process, or hire it out to speed up the process. But we're talking about accounting softwares. So which accounting software should you use? Now, first off, totally depends. There's not one silver bullet right answer that is right for all small businesses. But I'm going to start with the 800-pound gorilla in the room, and that is QuickBooks. QuickBooks is by far the largest platform out there. They are owned by Intuit. And they are going to be the most robust, well-known accounting software. All that being said, I personally do not recommend QuickBooks for a couple reasons. One, they're a little bit more than most small businesses need. If you actually need what QuickBooks offers, it's worth the money. But if you don't need what they offer, you're paying for extra. You're driving the Cadillac when the Corolla is going to get you there just fine. And if you are an entrepreneur who should be watching your costs, then the most expensive option, paying for, features that you're not even taking advantage of, is not necessarily the best option. The other thing, I personally have a little bit of an issue with the data collection that QuickBooks does. This is getting into a little bit of conspiracy theory that, I don't know for sure what they do with all that data, but I do know that they are collecting your data. And so they have a lot of data on small business financials. Personally, I don't like that. I don't like having my financials out there where someone else is kind of, collecting that information, whether they're using it for good or for bad or just storing it. But we do know that big businesses today are storing data like crazy, using data like crazy. You see it all the time with huge, infringements. Like Facebook is horrible at protecting your data. And so, there are a lot of companies that have followed suit. I put QuickBooks in that category. That's my own personal opinion. So what about some other options? Well, I'm looking at Wave Apps or Wave Accounting. I actually really like these guys because they're great for businesses just starting out. They have the free invoicing that is a really cool feature. You can go ahead and have professional invoicing. It costs you nothing. And so that's an awesome thing for small businesses to take advantage of. These guys are out of Toronto, Canada, which I think is cool. There's a lot of cool things coming out of Toronto. What I don't like is they recently got acquired by H&R Block. I personally preferred when they were not acquired by H&R Block. And again, that goes back to kind of that big data type thing where, all the big guys are gobbling up the little guys. We see this all the time in business. The other one that I am familiar with, I'm not going to discuss ones that I'm not familiar with because I'm not familiar with them. But the other one that I am familiar with would be Zoho Books. Personally, not a huge fan of Zoho Books. There are some issues where it's easy to manipulate and change some of the information. And so from an accuracy or security perspective, not a huge fan. The other thing is the help that comes from Zoho is not really great. You're going to be sitting on the phone for a long time trying to get some support. And when you get the support, the probability of them having any expertise in what you're looking for is not high. And so for that reason, I do have an issue with Zoho Books. Now, there are other Zoho products that I actually am a fan of that I think for the money, they do an awesome job. Their CRM is pretty robust, for the money. Salesforce is going to be a little bit more robust in my opinion, but you're going to pay about double what you would pay for, Zoho CRM. So there are things that Zoho does right, but Books, in my opinion, is not one of the best ones. Now, at the end of the day, do you need an accounting software? Well, it depends your business. It depends how many transactions you have going on. I find that I come across a lot of service-based businesses that are using accounting software when they really don't need to be, or they don't need to be using it as much. And so they can save themselves a lot of headache and some money by not going with an accounting software and just, like using an invoicing feature or keeping track of their books on an Excel spreadsheet. Those work really well for these simple businesses that don't have a lot of, moving parts in their financials. If you do have a lot of moving parts, if you've got inventory, QuickBooks is going to be probably your best off the shelf. But there's a lot of customization softwares that you could also do there as well. There's a lot out there, a lot that I'm not familiar with, but the main thing that I want to leave you with on this discussion training, the takeaway is start by learning how to balance your, balance on your own first. And then if you choose to do a software, do some homework, look at the pros and cons. Don't immediately go for the big brands that you've heard before. There's a lot of great stuff out there. And so educate yourself. You're always better for it. Thanks for tuning into this discussion. This is Marketing, Management, and Money.